Welcome back to my channel. Got my coffee this morning and it's a beautiful sunny day here in Vancouver. Today is Sunday. It's actually like 7:40 a.m. in the morning. I'm usually up bright and early in the mornings, even on weekends, because I like to work. And I do actually most of my content on weekends when things are a lot quieter. So I've got my oat milk latte that I'm almost finishing up, and I'm really excited to talk about today's episode. I think it's definitely something that's not talked about enough because it's a perspective that comes from my own journey with my eczema, and it's something that I've noticed more recently in the last few years, and also as I'm getting older. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Julia. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm based in Vancouver, but I see clients all over the world. And what you'll find on my channel are tips to help you with your skin, especially with eczema. This is also the channel where you'll learn content on gut health and the nervous system. I also share life behind the scenes as a dietitian who loves to travel, so you'll see more content when it comes to that. With that being said, obviously you're here because you're wanting to heal from eczema or other symptoms. You're in the right place. I release weekly episodes. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already for more. Okay, today's episode is about what no one tells you about eczema as a first-generation Asian. This topic came to mind because I have really been thinking about my journey with eczema since I was a baby. I've talked quite a bit about my TSW journey on my Instagram, how I went through topical steroid withdrawal in 2015, which was over 10 years ago. That was a whole crazy journey on its own. Honestly, looking back, it was crazy that my skin even got to that point with topical steroid withdrawal. And a part of me 10 years later forgot that experience, which is wild because it was so traumatic. But at the same time, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, it was like, wow, I was meant to go through that. I was meant to go through TSW and go through eczema before going through TSW so I can help all of you heal from your eczema too. Because right now I am basically eczema free. I still get dry patches here and there, but if you saw what my skin looked like 10 years ago, you wouldn't even believe how much has transformed in the last 10 years. And so TSW feels like a distant memory, even though if I were to close my eyes and to really think about that time, I can still remember the itch. I could still remember what it felt like. I felt like a dinosaur when you can't straighten up your arms and you're just skin is tight, feel like a lizard because your skin is just so thickened and just really uncomfortable. You're oozing. Every part of your skin hurts. I still remember that. I do remember it. By the way, I actually have an episode about my story. If you guys are new listeners and you want to hear about that, I'll leave it in the show notes below if you guys want to tune into it. But I want to talk about eczema as a first generation Asian and how it can be relevant for those of you who are women of color, who are Asian, because eczema in the Asian culture is actually very common. And as a first generation Asian myself, I do believe that a lot of my eczema was because of cultural values, was because of pressure, was because of overworking and stress, living and growing up in an Asian household where rules are very strict. I came from a family where it was a very traditional Asian family. We could never speak English at home. Actually, even today, we speak full Mandarin. I'm fully fluent in Mandarin. But we grew up in a household where there were a lot of rules. I would say it was quite sheltered. In my high school years, I could never go out. My curfew was 8 p.m. I was forced to learn piano because my dad, especially, he was a very strict dad. Love him though now. He really wanted me to be very successful. And so piano was a big passion of his. He really wanted me to become a piano teacher because that was the way to go. He's like, if you have a skill, if you have a talent, you need to pursue it. So piano was something that I was basically forced into, and I hated it. Okay. I never liked piano. I remember just dreading going to my piano lesson. And so there was a lot of pressure to perform based on what my parents wanted, specifically my dad. And I get it, right? When you have parents that are very traditional, whether they're Asian or not. This doesn't have to apply to just Asians because I know there are similar values in other cultures as well. But in the Asian culture, a lot of it is about status, where you have to be the best. You have to be the best of your class. You have to make the most money. You have to have the best title. You need to show your strengths and never show your weaknesses, which means that if you were struggling and you were having a hard day, you could never show your emotions because emotions is a sign of weakness. So I grew up in a household where I had to always be strong. I always had to be doing something. Not only was I practicing piano to become a piano teacher that I didn't want to do, I was also learning something called pipa, which is another Chinese instrument. And I spent most of my high school performing. I would go to piano concerts. I would compete on stage to win awards in piano. And so what I'm trying to get at is I was running on constant stress to perform for my parents, to follow their dreams, to just simply be the best. And all at the same time, I couldn't express my own feelings or my emotions because that was frowned upon, or we just don't talk about emotions in an Asian household. Even today, it's like, I don't talk to my dad about my feelings. That's fucking weird. My mom, now a little bit better, now that I've gotten older, it's still strange to talk about my feelings and my emotions to my parents. And so I think that really shaped me to who I am today and definitely influences eczema, which is actually what I want to share with you guys because eczema is so connected to your nervous system and to your mind and to your emotions. Not only our upbringing affects our skin, but also our emotions. If you suppress your emotions because this is how you were taught growing up, that can actually show up as eczema. If you never speak up, if you hold things back, where are those negative thoughts and where are those negative emotions going? It is being stored in your body. And if it's being stored in your body, it's going to show up in some shape, way, or form. For those of you listening who have eczema, it's going to show up as eczema flares. Maybe for other people, it's going to show up as stomach pain. It's going to show up as digestive issues. And this is why going on a diet or taking a bunch of supplements isn't really going to get to the root cause, especially if your root cause is from your past experiences growing up. We're going to take a quick break. I wanted to take a moment to talk about something I see all the time as a root cause dietitian. So many people are struggling with gut issues, eczema, inflammation, fatigue, blood sugar imbalance, you name it. And they've tried everything under the sun, but nothing is really sticking. They go to the doctor's office and the first thing they're given is a medication or a steroid to help their skin. And there's not a lot of conversation about addressing symptoms from a root cause perspective. And this is where I come in. I help people as a dietitian to get to the root cause of exactly what's going on and create a practical, personalized nutrition plan that actually makes a difference. No strict protocols, no restrictive dieting, and no detoxes. Just a clear plan that you can actually follow that is sustainable. And this is exactly what we do inside our group and one-on-one coaching services. We help our clients feel better in their bodies and actually become symptom-free. If this is something that you've been looking for, I would love to work with you. You can simply book a free consultation in the show notes below. The consultation is for me to understand your health goals, where you're feeling stuck, and how we might be able to support you. I would love to help you feel better, confident in your body, confident in your skin, and confident in yourself by healing from the inside out. Now, this is not a program that will just tell you what to do. This is a program where we work with you. We are by your side the entire time. We help you understand your symptoms and your body, and we combine nutrition with mind-body medicine. I'll leave the link in the show notes below for you to book a free call. Now, back to the episode. That's why I didn't see any change in my eczema until way later. I had an eczema throughout my entire life. Tried a lot of things with food, with restrictions, with seeing TCM doctors, trying to always be on top of it. I didn't have a lack of discipline when it comes to my eczema. I actually probably was doing too much. That again was something that I was taught growing up, right? If there was something wrong, you had to fix it by doing more hard work, by trying harder, by doing your best. You just never ever give up. You have to prove to everyone that you are the best. So I started to see the values that were taught to me from my parents showing up in different areas of my life with eczema too, where I felt like I needed to do more in order to succeed. I remember sitting at a coffee shop. This was my university days. And I remember this so clearly. It was at Waves Coffee Shop for my Canadians. You guys know where that is. And I was studying for an exam exam at UBC. And I looked at my skin and I was like, oh my gosh, my eczema is flaring again. It was so itchy. I was like scratching while trying to study. I was so stressed in university because I needed to pass my courses. I needed to do well. If I didn't do well, I would really beat myself up, or I would feel really crappy, or my parents would not be happy with me. That was the other thing too. If I didn't perform or if I didn't do well, I would get in trouble. I would get grounded. I could never see my friends. I would literally get a couple slaps, a couple whips with a coat hanger. Even though as I got older into university, they were no longer doing that, you still hold on to your traumas from when you were younger, right? And you still have that internal pressure with yourself, even though you don't have that pressure anymore with your parents. And so sharing this experience, I want you guys to really think about going back to eczema, where it's coming from, because it's so much more beyond just what you eat and your supplements and the food. Like all of those things are so surface level. If the diet worked, you wouldn't be flaring. If the supplements worked, you wouldn't be flaring. If doing more worked, you wouldn't be flaring. It's as simple as that. And so we need to start looking deeper into what is really going on beneath the surface. And yes, the microbiome, dysbiosis, nutrient deficiencies, all the clinical stuff we want to look at as well. But beyond the clinical, and it's often something that practitioners don't talk about, are your cultural values, are your upbringing. How is that influencing the way that you are today? How is that influencing the way that you act? How is it influencing the way that you think? Because all of that plays a role in your eczema and whether or not it heals or flares. Everything started to shift for me when I worked on a lot of the beliefs that were ingrained in me growing up, that I had to do more, that I had to succeed, that I need to be the best of the best. And I'm still working on this to this day, by the way. I am by far perfect or healed. I believe that nobody is ever completely healed from their upbringing, especially if they had a difficult one. I'm actively working on it, but I'm reflecting and I'm mindful. And I know that my eczema personally is very responsive to my emotions and to my nervous system and how much I overwork as I'm working on the weekend. But this is because I love doing this. As a first generation Asian, I feel like I'll always have this unspoken pressure, this pressure to succeed. And it's something that will continue to work on probably for the rest of my life. I feel like there are some days where I can't just sit still and I always need to be doing something, but way better than how it was many years ago. And I really believe that's the reason why my eczema is so much more controlled than it was, because I know when to slow down. I know when to tell my body to stop. And I don't want to be where I was during my high school and university years, where I was constantly on the go, constantly overworking, constantly doing something, working 2 to 3 jobs at a time, proving to my parents. I want you to take away from this episode to really think about your lifestyle now and how it actually might be a reflection of how you were brought up. If you were brought up where you had to always be doing something, and a lot of pressure, a lot of discipline, chances are in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, or however old you are, you probably still have those values. There's nothing wrong with working hard, right? There's nothing wrong with going after your goals. However, if it's at the cost of your health and your eczema is flaring, that's not worth it. Because if there's a pattern that you're seeing with your flares, that's your body and your nervous system letting you know that it's dysregulated. We know that when your body is dysregulated from overdoing, from overworking, it's going to show you in symptoms. A lot of us were taught not to listen to our bodies. My parents didn't teach me to listen to my body. We were taught to keep going. We were taught to not be emotional. We were taught to not slow down, right? In this society. Even if your body's giving you signals like slow down, like your eczema is flaring, we just ignore it. We slather on a steroid cream. If you're listening and thinking, wow, this sounds like me. I grew up with pressure. I have this similar story with this like pressure to do well. You're not alone. And if you have awareness of that, it's so powerful. You can absolutely heal now that you know where it could all be coming from. And that's exactly the type of work that I do with my clients. We're not just looking at food, we're looking at patterns, we're looking at stress, lifestyle, nervous system, limiting beliefs, which is a huge one. Like if you have a limiting belief that you have to do a lot in order to heal, that belief didn't come from now. It came from the past, because maybe you were told in the past by your dad, by your mom, that if you want to achieve anything, you need to do more. It's going to show up in your career, in your life and how you approach eczema. So we want to start unlearning all of that because our bodies and nervous system are not meant to be constantly spinning and going. I'll leave it at that for today's episode. I hope it gave you a perspective when it comes to your eczema journey. And I apologize if I jumped around. I feel like there's so much to touch on for this episode, but I hope it did give you some insight as to how your past can really shape how you approach healing and how it can actually affect your skin. And if that's something you've been struggling with, you are someone that is looking for balance and you're wondering how to heal eczema without needing to go on a strict diet, without needing to follow a strict protocol, and you really want to listen to your body and heal from within, you can book a free consultation in the show notes below, and we can talk through your symptoms, your patterns, and see what might actually be driving your flares. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week, and we will see you in the next episode.